Assalamualaikum and hi. We are from Group 2 that will present the experiment 1, which is MARCET boiler. We have 5 members in our group, which are Abdul Majid, Melvin Chi, Nazirul Hilman, Nurul Nadra, and Hu Mohammed. So I will pass to the first presenter, which is Abdul Majid.
The abstract of the experiment 1 MARCET boiler is the purpose of the MARCET boiler experiment is to determine the relationship between saturated steam pressure and temperature, and the temperature is directly proportional to the pressure as the temperature increases. When the pressure increases, the drive from the drive formula and data can be used to determine the graphic slope. The graphic slope comparing to the GT and dP, the change of temperature and the change of pressure that was calculated with the data in the steam table. The steam table values should be exactly the same as the recorded values. The reading difference is due to some errors made during the experiment. In the objective of the experiment 1 as MARCET boiler, the objective is to keep an eye on the relationship between saturated steam pressure and temperature. And in introduction of the experiment 1 of MARCET boiler is in thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is a field of physics that examines the interaction of energies between system and its environment. When the system goes through a process, thermodynamics is also concerned with the change in fluid properties. The activities among the molecules will increase when the energy in the water increases, allowing the molecule to escape from the surface until it reaches equilibrium or boiling point. When the pressure is low, less energy is required to reach the state of equilibrium. And in theory of this experiment is two of the following characteristics can be used to determine the thermodynamic properties of pure substances and other lattice. Data characteristics could be derived using an experiment equation. Experiment's equation is a combination of two temperature and pressure are too easy to measure thermodynamic characteristics. Graphics or equations can be used to represent the relationship between these qualities. The equilibrium equation has been published, and here, as we have seen, the change of temperature and the change of pressure in saturated, it equals to the in the formula we have here, and where Vf equals volume of water, Vg equals volume of steam, and Hf is enthalpy of water, and Hg is enthalpy of steam, where Hfg equals Hf minus Hg equals heat dormant of vaporization, and dormant for the heat value of water can be obtained from the equation. So that's it, and thank you very much, all of you.
Hi everyone, my name is Melvin Chi. Now I will present my part, which is the methodology and the list of apparatus that going to be used in this experiment. So without wasting any time, so I will explain first the list of apparatus that's going to be used in this experiment. So as you can see in the slide, there is two figures, which is figure 1 and figure 2, where figure 1 is the list of apparatus that being labeled, while for figure 2 is the real image that we're going to see in the lab when we set up this apparatus. So let me explain the list of apparatus based from the label that being labeled in figure 1. So Apparatus 1 is drain valve. For apparatus 2 is heater. 3 overflow valve. 4 filler plug. 5 safety valve. 6 temperature sensor. 7 manometer. 8 boiler with insulting jacket. 9 temperature gauge. 10 heater switch. 11 master switch. Next, we move to the methodology for this experiment. Okay, now I will explain the procedure of the first procedure to set up the experiment based on the apparatus. So, firstly, we fill the water into the boiler by open the filler plug, and after that we're gonna make sure that the overplug is open and to allow the water flow out uh, when the boiler is full. After that, close the filler plug back. Second, the water boiler was heated with the overflow valve while the overflow valve is open. Third, the overflow valve was closed when the temperature reached the range about 27 degree to 100 degree. The fourth procedure is increase the temperature. The increase in temperature was noted for each pressure of 0.5 bar until the pressure reached to 5 bar. Okay. The fifth procedure is the heating was switched off. Uh, while while that while while the switch is heat off, the decreased temperature was recorded for each pressure of 0.5 bar. And lastly, after that, the result obtained are going to be recorded into the table 1. So I think that is for me. Thank you. I will pass to my next team member to expand further. Thank you for that.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nazul Hilman. Okay, I will present about the result. Okay, this is the data from the experiment and some data we obtained from the calculation. Okay, next is the calculation. Alright, for the calculation part, we have some example for calculation about absolute pressure, mean temperature, dP, dt, and measured slope. Alright, next. Okay, next we have the graph for absolute pressure bar versus increasing temperature for heating process. Okay, this graph shows the relationship between absolute pressure and the saturated steam temperature for heating process. Okay, from the data obtained, we can conclude that absolute pressure increase as temperature increase. Okay, next. Okay, next we have absolute pressure versus decreasing temperature for cooling process. Okay, initially, during the cooling process, temperature is still increased even heating switch was turned off. But the observation from the graph is that temperature decreased as pressure decreased. Okay, next. Okay, this is the graph about absolute pressure versus mean temperature. Okay, next. Okay, this is the sample of calculation of percentage error. Okay, next, last but not least. Okay, this is the graph measured and calculated slope versus absolute pressure. Okay, we can compare between these two. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Fud Muhammad and I will be presenting to you in the discussion. In the discussion we have here 4 points and I will try to summarize. Based on the graphs in the result we should note that the relationship between the pressure for the heating process is increasing against temperature. Followed by the second graph, the cooling process. The process is increasing against the temperature even after the heating is switched off at the beginning, which is mean as the pressure is proportional to the temperature. When the pressure drops, the temperature drops as well as. The next point is, before the experiment is conducted, the initial pressure is 0, where the temperature of the water is at room temperature, and the cleanliness of the MARCET boiler should be taken into consideration because it can cause the water inside the boiler to mix with the impurities. We also know that the heat transfer happens followed by the increasing and decreasing temperature. For the heating process graph, the heat transfer showed when the temperature rises following the pressure. This happens because the heat from the steam is heating the water. The heat from outside is higher than the temperature inside the water. And finally, the form of the graph for the cooling process is quite the same as for the heating process graph. It is because the decreasing rate of the temperature during the cooling process is about the same as the increasing rate of the temperature during the heating process. But cooling process needed more time as the water cooling is slower than the heating up. The process of a heat transfer is also quite same, but the process flows backwards. And by the way, there are also errors in our experiment activity which can affect our data and result in our experiment.
Hi, my name is Nurul Nadra and I will be presenting about the conclusion for this experiment. From the experiment, we can study the relationship between pressure and temperature for water at saturated liquid phase by using the MARCET boiler device. At the beginning of the experiment, as we can see, the value of temperature of water was at 109.3 degrees Celsius and the value of pressure was at 0.5 bar. But at the end of the experiment, the temperature and pressure increased up until 154.2 degrees Celsius and 5 bar. It is shown that the relationship between pressure and temperature is directly proportional based on the relation of the graph P versus T. The difference between the theoretical values and actual values is caused by many errors. So in order to improve the result, the reading of the temperature gap must be perpendicular to the eye level to avoid parallax error, and air must be completely removed from the valve by closing the overflow valve to avoid any accuracy of the readings. That's all from us. Thank you for watching.